What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, Mo Hunt Silver. For tonight's video, I think we're going to give it another shot here at pennies. If you haven't seen my last penny hunt and fill episode, if you want to see a really bad video, I will put a link in the top right hand corner where you can go check out my last penny hunt, which was absolutely horrible. But for this hunt, which is going to be penny hunt and fill number 28, boxes 54 and 55. I know we should at least have some finds because I see copper enders and there's no wheat cent enders, but no telling what we could find inside these rolls. So both boxes are circulated and we are going to be looking for wheat cents, um, any kind of Indian head cents, proof cents, foreign coins, errors, varieties, or anything else cool. Yeah, I'm just hoping this one's going to be a lot better than the last, which, like I said, I believe it will be. And let's get into it. But if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you are new to the channel and also like the content. So let's get into these boxes. I will start hunting them here. Let me just pull one to the side. Here we go. And I will be doing every 5 rolls. I will hunt 5 rolls and then come back for a recap of what I found in those 5. So I'll be right back. Row 1 is going to give us 2 wheat cents. We are going to have a 1945 out of Philadelphia. And also a 1957 out of Denver. All right, we'll move on to row number 2 and see what we can get. Row number 2 is hunted. We only had one find in row number 2. And that's going to be a 1982 out of Canada. So we'll have our first foreign coin for the hunt. Put that right up here. If he wants to cooperate. And then we also did find a couple 2009s here as well. All the log cabin design. But we'll keep moving and see what we can find in row number 3. Row number 3 is going to produce 1 wheat cent for us. And this one's actually going to be an older one. We have a 1920 out of Philadelphia. So this one will be 105 years old. Still in circulation. All right, not bad. We'll move on to row number 4. Row number 4 is now hunted. And this was actually a pretty good row. This row is going to give us 4 wheat cents, which is pretty awesome. The first one is going to be a 1950 out of Philadelphia. Right there. Not bad looking. Second one is going to be a 1956. It actually still has just a little bit of red poking through on the obverse. That one is in pretty good shape. Then we have a kind of beat up 1955 out of Denver. And a 1957 out of Denver. Again, kind of beat up. But, all right. Pretty good row right there. We'll move on to row number 5 and see if we can pull any more wheat cents or find a mint error or something like that. Row 5 is now hunted. Row 5 only gave us 1 find, and it is going to be another foreign. And we have a 2003 out of Canada. Row number 6 is hunted. And we got 1 wheat cent out of row number 6. It is going to be a 1945 that, again, is not in bad condition and still has just a little bit of red poking through. Not bad. And then we also have a 1993 out of Canada. All right. We'll move on to row number 7 and see what we can get out of these 5 rolls. Row number 7 wasn't a bad row. We're going to have 3 wheat cents out of row number 7. First one is going to be a 1944 out of Philly. Second one is going to be a 1954 out of Philly. And last but not least, 1955 out of San Francisco this time. There's that S mint mark. Don't find very many of those. So happy to have that one. And now we'll move on to row number 8. Row number 8 is going to give us 3 finds for the hunt. We're going to have our 4th Canadian of this box, 1972 out of Canada. Slightly older one there. And then we have 2 wheat cents, a 1956 out of Philly that has got some big gouges on the reverse, and a 1957 out of Philly. That is slightly better. But we'll move on to row number 9. Hopefully some more wheat cents pop out. All right, guys, I had to bring this in. I just laid out the 3rd roll of row number 9. And about halfway through it, right there is what I saw. You guys see that? We are going to have, I believe, the find of the hunt right here. And that is an Indian head scent from 1905. So this will be 120 years old. Still in circulation. Man, the back of that is pretty rough, but that is pretty sweet. Another Indian head scent. Awesome. Definitely take that. And we'll continue moving on through here. Row number 9 is now hunted. And row number 9 might actually be the best row of this hunt because of that Indian head. But we also found 3 wheat cents. First one is going to be a 1944 out of Philadelphia. Right there. Then we found a 1951 out of Philly. And also a 1956 out of Philly. And then the find of the hunt so far is going to be the 1905 Indian head. Not bad. I will take that for sure. And we'll move on to the last row of box number 1 and see what else we can find. Row number 10 did not give us anything. So this box is going to finish us out with 11 50s wheat cents, 4 40s wheat cents, 1 from the 20s, 1920, giving us a total of 16 wheat cents altogether in this box, and 1 Indian head cent, the 1905 right there. We did get 4 Canadians for our foreigns, and then a whole bunch of 2009s. And I believe we did get all 4 designs there as well. And then for our copper cup, this box here, I have the scale already on. And we're going to have 2 pounds, and I'll say 12 ounces of copper in box number 1. So we'll move on to box number 2 back here. And I'll be back with the wrap up for row number 11. Row number 11 is hunted, and it's going to give us wheat cent number 17 for the hunt and the first for the second box. We have a 1940 out of Philadelphia. All right. We'll keep moving. See what else we can find in row 12. Row number 12 is going to give us 1 more wheat cent, making it 2 for box 2 so far. And we're going to have a 1945 out of Philly. Alrighty. Row 13 is hunted through, and it's going to give us 2 more wheat cents for box number 2 of this hunt. We do have a 1950 out of Denver. That doesn't look too bad, honestly. And a 1956 out of Denver. That is not an RPM. All right, not bad. I'll take those. And we'll keep moving on to row number 14. Row 14 is going to give us 2 more wheat cents for box number 2, which is now going to put us up to 6 wheat cents for this box. And our first one is going to be a 1941 Philadelphia. And I did put this under the scope. It is not any of the DDOs. And then, not a bad looking 1956 out of Philly. That looks pretty nice still, honestly. All right. We'll move on to row 15. Row 15 is now hunted, and it'll give us 2 more wheat cents to add to our total, putting us up to 8 wheat cents at the halfway point of this box. And the first one is going to be a 1945 out of Philly. And then the second one for this set is going to be a pretty decent looking 1957 out of Denver. That really does not look bad at all. All right. We'll move on to row number 16. Row 16 is going to give us 1 lonely wheat cent. And we are going to have a 1946 out of Philly with a lot of gunk. And pretty common. But we'll move on to row 17 and see what we can get out of that. Row 17 was a pretty decent row. We're going to have our first foreign for the box out of row 17. And we do have a 1970 from Canada. Not bad looking right there. And then row 17 also gave us 3 more wheat cents, which is going to now put us up to 12 wheat cents in box number 2. And we have an older one, 1937, Philadelphia. A 1940, Philadelphia. And also a 1941, Philadelphia. And I did check it under the scope, and it is not any of the possible DDOs. That's not bad. I will take that for sure. And we'll move on to row 18. Well, the first roll in row 18, I had to bring his in, because this was only 2 coins in from the end. Check this out right here. That looks like it's going to be a 2000, but it is severely off center. Check that out. And look at the reverse side of it too. This looks like it's roughly, oh man, 30% maybe? Maybe 35%, somewhere in there off center. I have never found a penny in circulation that is an off center strike like this one here. That is awesome. I'll have to look and see what something like this would be worth, because I am not sure. But that is sweet. All right. Awesome find right there. And I don't believe I saw anything else when I flattened this roll out, just perusing real quickly. But if there is anything, I'll include it, of course, at the end of this set of 5 rolls. Guys, I'm back after hunting through the 5 rolls for row 18. And row 18 is going to give us another 2 wheat cents. So that'll now put us at 14 for box number 2. And we are going to have a 1944 out of Philly. pretty common. And then in 1946, out of San Francisco, a little bit less common. And then the find for this row is going to be the 2000. Not sure if it's a Denver or just a Philly, but the 2000 off-center strike. Look at that. That is crazy. And I think these do go for around anywhere between like $10 and $20 or so in this kind of condition, something like that. But that's, like I said, that's sweet. That's a great find right there. And we'll move on to row 19. Row 19 is now hunted, and we added 2 more foreigns for this box, and both of them are going to be from Canada. We have a 1994 and a 1990. So that'll be 3 total foreigns for this box so far, all being Canadian. And then we're going to add 4 more wheat cents to our total. This will now bring this box up to 16, so that'll tie the first box of the hunt. And we have a 1944 out of Philly, a 1945 out of Philly, not a bad looking 1956, and this is a Philly again. That doesn't look bad at all. And then last but not least, a 1958 out of Denver. All right, so we'll move on to the last row of the hunt and see what else we can find in these rolls. That's going to do it for box number 2 of the video. The last 5 rolls did not give us any finds at all. No wheat cents, no foreigns, no errors or varieties. So we are going to finish box number 2 with 18 wheat cents. And I am going to apologize because in the last clip, I said we had tied the first box with 16. We actually have 18. So we have 18 wheat cents for box 2. That is 2 more than box number 1. We also found 3 foreigns, all 3 being Canadian. We have a total of 5 2009s. And our 1 mint error, the 2000 off-center strike. That's about 35% off-center. Really, really good find there. And then for our copper cup, we get the scale turned on. All right, that's ready. We'll set it on here. And we're going to have just under 3 pounds. I'll say 2 pounds and probably about 15.5 ounces. So that is not bad. And I will be right back with a full wrap up for the hunt. And then we can see if we have any additions or upgrades for the albums. Be right back. All right, guys, I'm back for the wrap up. And as you can see, this was another pretty good 2-box penny hunt. We have a lot of coins up here on the mat, and I'll get right into what we got. We did get all 4 designs of the 2009 pennies, and we got a whole bunch. Some of them are actually a pretty nice red color still. We did get a total of 7 foreign coins, all of them being from Canada. And then a total of 34 wheat cents. We have 1 from the 20s, 1920 Philadelphia. 1 from the 30s, a 1937 Philadelphia. And then a total of 15 from the 40s. And a total of 17 from the 50s. And then the finds of this hunt are definitely going to be our 2000 off-center strike. That is about 30 to 35% off-center. Excellent, excellent find right there. And then the last find is going to be our oldest of the box, or of the hunt, 1905 Indian head. And actually, now that I see it, actually still might have a little bit of liberty in the headband. So that is awesome. I'm very happy with the way this hunt turned out. And now we're going to see if we can add anything to our albums. I hope we can, but let me do that real quick and I'll be right back. And we also did have a little over 5.5 pounds of copper out of both boxes. But I'll be right back. Let's see what we can do for these albums here. All right, guys, I'm back after checking over the albums for any kind of additions or upgrades that we could make. We did not have any additions in this episode, so we're still going to be at 226 of our possible 287 spots. But we did have two upgrades. The 1956, which is right here. That is the one we had in the album. And you can see how today's example looks. And the 1957 Denver. This is the one that was in the album. And today's example has just a bit more shine to it. So that's going to do it for the albums. And that's going to do it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Plus, give the video a thumbs up if you did. And subscribe to my channel if you're new and made it this far through the video. I appreciate every single subscription that I get. And I appreciate every single one of you that watch my videos. So thanks for watching, guys. And I'll see you on the next hunt.